Welcome to the Sports Betting Podcast, a pregame.com production. This is Marco D'Angelo along with Vegas Runner. We're going to take a look at Thursday night action, college football. Vegas Runner, it's Virginia Tech at East Carolina. Thursday night, you're the guy with the lines. Tell us what's happening.
Primetime ESPN. This one opened up Virginia Tech as an 11.5 point road favorite with a total of 51.5. As of this morning, we're looking at Virginia Tech minus 13. Total still the same at 51.5, but some money coming in on the favorite early.
For the second week in a row, we've got an oddity in ESPN football. Last week, we had North Carolina playing for the second week in a row on Thursday Night Football against Virginia Tech. This week, again, we've got a team playing back-to-back weeks on Thursday Night Football. Anything out of that? You make anything out of that?
Yeah, I mean, Thursday night's reserved for the ACC, so, I'm surprised they're on back-to-back weeks, but I'm more surprised, to tell you the truth, at how high this line came out. I went back to see what line they put out over the summer, because if you remember, Virginia Tech was touted to have a chance to run the table in the ACC. They were supposed to be a top team. And, I mean, they still are at 5-3. They're still ranked in the top 25 at USA Today and AP and even in the odds makers poll. So they still got that respect. But the line they had over the summer was Virginia Tech only -5. Now, all of a sudden, they're both 5-3. East Carolina's undefeated at home. And we're looking at a line of 13. That surprised me a little bit. Makes me think the odds makers are looking at a blowout, they think.
Well, you've got a situation. If we learned anything from last week, North Carolina playing the second week in a row. The week before, they were beaten at home. Mm-hmm. They came back last week, playing for the second week. They, redeemed themselves, so to speak. They, upset Virginia Tech, played a great game.
Yeah.
Defensively, they shut down Virginia Tech. Will Virginia Tech do that this week? The difference is they're laying a heavy number to East Carolina. Last week, Virginia Tech, very uncharacteristic. They're a strong running team. North Carolina put the absolute clamps on them. They had only 95 yards on 33 attempts last week. Now, switching over to East Carolina, they're the total opposite of North Carolina as far as the defense goes. I mean, they're not going to manhandle Virginia Tech like North Carolina goes. East Carolina, they've put up some big points this year. The last 2 weeks, they've scored 49 and 38 against defenseless teams, Rice and Memphis. So again, I'm with you. I'm surprised that the number come out as high as it did, and yet it's moving higher.
Higher, yeah. That's what got me, because East Carolina's won 4 of their last 5 games. 3 of them were on the road. So, it's not like they've been beating up cupcakes at home and got this record. They got it done on the road. More importantly, this is Virginia Tech, who's lost now 2 straight ACC games. Are they also in revenge mode? If you remember last year, East Carolina beat them 27-22. And that final score, I went back and dug into that box score. That final score does not represent at all what happened in that game. ECU dominated. They had more passing yards, more rushing yards. They held the ball for 7 more minutes. So they really dominated that game. And the year prior, when Virginia Tech did beat them by, I believe, 17-7 at home, I have here, they were a 28-point favorite. Right. So when they were expected to dominate this team, they've never been able to. So, I mean, possibly they're looking past this team. East Carolina hasn't been the dominant ACC team, so it might be a little thing where they're looking ahead and not respecting this team at all, and they've been able to stay close. But again, I'm like you. Why is this line 13? It tells me we might be looking at a one-sided route here.
Well, I went in and I looked just like you. I looked at the last 2 years, but I found something very interesting. And you know me, I like to dig in every rock and everything. The last 2 years, they played East Carolina on the opening week of the season.
Right. And last year was a neutral field, too.
Not this deep into the season.
Right.
Now, what happens sometimes, obviously, Virginia Tech and East Carolina, it's less meaningful for Virginia Tech.
Sure.
They're the powerhouse. The underdog's always going to be up for playing the bigger school.
Showcase the athletes.
Playing early in the year. When you play later in the year and you've got an underdog team, a team that's overmatched. I mean, let's face it, Virginia Tech's got better athletes, but at the beginning of the year, these undermanned teams have a better chance of staying with powerhouses because their starting lineup, is good as it gets. I mean, they're just not deep. And as you go deeper into the season, when you start getting players banged up and a team that's not as deep as a Virginia Tech team will show more later in the season than in that first week of the season when everybody's healthy. So I think this is a huge difference that Virginia Tech is playing them late in the season rather than early. Coming off an upset loss, you got Virginia Tech's going to be angry. But there's one question you have to ask, and you got to get inside the head of these Virginia Tech players.
Yeah, where are they at mentally?
They now lost their third game. Losing that third game
You're not playing on New Year's now.
Right. That's the magical game in college football. What is their psyche right now for this game and the rest of the season? That's the big question mark. I'm with you. My first look, I got to say Virginia Tech should be able to win by 14 or more. First look, but I got a question, and I'm going to dig into it a little more before game day, and see how the practices have been going this week and what the team chemistry is. But motivation's big right now for Virginia Tech.
It's huge, and that's going to be a key tomorrow, especially with this number. When I look at Virginia Tech, the only thing that scares me is they've not been playing well at all on the road. They're 1-2 on the road, but more importantly, they average 10 points a game less. And when you're not able to put up the kind of points you do overall on the road, it's tough to cover a 2-touchdown spread. That's where I'm worried here, and that's the reason I haven't laid Virginia Tech, even though I'll tell you the truth, that's the side I was looking early. Mm-hmm. But the more I dig into this game, I'll tell you the truth, the more East Carolina, to me, appears to be getting a little too many points here, and they just may show up tomorrow.
They could. I mean, East Carolina's got 3 losses also, but the situation being, they're a smaller school. If they get a national TV win against a program like Virginia Tech, that's going to help them get the best possible bowl that they can get. So it is a big game for East Carolina.
For both,
no question.
I honestly think it's going to come down to, this is pretty basic. Virginia Tech, you know what you're going to get out of them. They run the ball. This team averages only 18 pass attempts per game. Now, you look at East Carolina's defense, against the rush, they've done well. I mean, they've allowed 83 yards at home against the rush. You could pass on them easily, but you haven't been able to run on them. I want to dig deep and see, is that a real stat? Or have they just gotten ahead of teams and forced them to pass? Or, because there's a dominating statistics. And when you only attempt 15, 17 passes a game, and you're about to face a defense that only allows 80 yards rushing, you shouldn't be a 13-point favorite any way you slice it. So, I mean, the game's tomorrow. We're doing this today, so we got 24 hours to dig a little deeper.
Yeah. Those of you watching, we are taping on Wednesday for this game, and should be a good game on Thursday night. Check the site, see if we actually have plays on the game. But that's, breaking down this game in great detail. Any closing thoughts here as we wrap this one up?
No, just that what struck me most about this game is that the odds makers, the AP, and the USA Today all agree that this Virginia Tech's still a top 25 team. So, when you got everybody agreeing, usually the line's pretty close to the actual ratings, the strength rating.
And the thing is, and even in the games that they lost, they're losing games close.
Right.
They haven't had that, complete clunker where they've been just horrible. So we'll see what happens on Thursday night. Now, this is our Thursday night game preview. We're going to be back. Today we have 6 segments on our normal podcast. We'll do 3 college, 3 NFL, so be sure to check them all out.
Free picks.
At pregame.tv on YouTube. And thanks again, and we'll be back with some more games. Thanks for watching.